lovers of the liminal and the weird, and welcome to another video by Liminal Spaces. Today we're going to be talking about Michael McDowell's Blackwater saga. It's weird. It says it's the saga of the Caskey family, but I'm going to call it the Blackwater saga. And I am joined today by Virgil from Literally Books and Bryan from Bad Taste Books. Thanks both of you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
So we'll start with just kind of a review of this, and I wanted to go over a little bit of a synopsis, really, of the beginning of the story. It's strange because I think of these as separate novels, and they absolutely aren't. I mean, it is. I think that he just cut them right around 250 pages each is what he did. No, that's not even true. Right around 200 pages each. So yeah, Bryan, you gave a good synopsis of the beginning on your channel. Do you want to do it again here?
Sure. If I don't remember what I said, but I'll try. So basically, the story follows mainly this well-off family called the Caskey family that live in Perdido, Alabama, and the story starts off in the early 1900s, I believe, or late 1800s.
I think it's closer to the 20s.
The 20s, okay.
Yeah.
And it follows them and their descendants all the way up to the 1970s. And it's very much a Southern drama, family drama story, talking about their successes and their inner workings of their family and all this, all while we're kind of experiencing and learning about this river monster thing. Yeah, I mean, that's the general. You want me to talk about the actual beginning or just the summation?
Well, I'm going to throw in a little bit here about the actual beginning.
Go for
it. The whole time I was reading this, I was like, is this a horror novel or is this a generational saga? Because it's both. It's incredible. But this opening, so it opens with a flood, and this flood has basically destroyed this town. Everybody's livelihood is in question. It's a big flood. I found out recently that there was a flood this exact year in the South, which is probably why he started with this flood. But there's these two men rowing around this city or this downtown of this small town, and peeking in the second stories of windows of these buildings that are, because the water level's risen to the second floor. And it's been like 3 days since the last time anybody's been pulled out of this flood. And they come up to this hotel and look into this window, and there's a woman sitting there on the bed like she's waiting for them. And they save this woman, and she becomes this important part of the Caskey family. And this feels like a spoiler, but it's really not, because right away the book is like, this is a river monster. And McDowell's writing is incredible, because there's this scene where she's laying in the Perdido and there's somebody looking at her, and as the water flows over her, she can see this river monster laying in the river. But when she stands up, she becomes Eleanor again. Eleanor, is that her name?
Eleanor.
Yeah, good. So it starts wonderfully. Virgil, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I love the way the mood of the story is at the beginning. I mean, it's set such a great tone, because it's this sort of, essentially apocalyptic event for this town. This town is destroyed. Like you say, it's gone. No one's supposed to be here. No one should be alive. No one should be around here. I don't even remember what their reasoning was. Just, I guess, to inspect the town, because it's as an Oliver Caskey. So he's is that right? Oscar. I'm sorry.
Oscar.
Yeah. I knew I was close. I saw Chris's face. I'm like, nope, I got it wrong. Because he's part of, his family is extremely wealthy. Not that they act, hoity-toity or anything like that. And so they're just sort of going around the town inspecting this. And then they discover this woman, and he's kind of smitten by her. But of course, his servant, is what you'd say, with him is like, this is wrong. This
3 days. 3 days.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know about this. you know, and it's this really like you can feel that something's off, but you can also tell that Oscar doesn't like knows there's something off, but he like pretends, he sort of gaslights himself. He sort of pretends that he doesn't notice that because he's interested in this woman. He's like, oh, there's an attractive woman here. I like her, you know. And they even I can't remember the guy who goes back.
Bray?
And what's his
Bray?
yeah, maybe it is Bray. I can't remember. Bray's probably right. Goes back later to get some of her luggage, and it's just like, and he's noticing like the bed is damp all the way to the top of the like the entirety of the bed is soaked, so the bed has been underwater too. And he's like, there's no way this woman was in here.
Well, and you can't drink Perdido water.
Yeah.
So she's had no water or food for at least 3 days. I mean, and she's fine. She's
right.
Seems healthy and fine.
And there's a really cool statement. He says something really, McDowell says in the narrative too, like flood water isn't river water. Like you can't, it's not like fish don't even swim in flood water. They stay in the river even when it floods.
That was fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought that was really interesting, you know, and it just kind of just shows you like this is something that's not right. There's something really abnormal here. And there's this real sense of like something's not right. And then this woman, Eleanor, just sort of settles in town, and it's just then it sort of fades off into this family drama.
Yeah.
And then that supernatural element sort of shows up every once in a while, and you're just kind of like, you know, everybody knows something's up, but nobody can quite bring themselves to say anything throughout especially the first novel.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Yeah. It is the balance, I think, of horror versus, family drama was really well done. I thought all the way throughout the books. There was some stuff we'll get into later that got a little bit confusing to me, but what I wanted to say really, really quick is, for what surprised me the most is there is, I guess, a generational drama genre. It's not really a genre, but there's a lot of these novels that are kind of generational novels that I feel also introduce people to culture. The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. And then getting really weird, the Makioka Sisters by Tanizaki. This is a wild story that like sums up one particular era in Japanese history. It's wonderful. And then even the Korean Three Generations, which is literally titled in the way that it will go through 3 generations and sum up this kind of time period. And that is not what I expected with this, but I feel like that's kind of what we got. Like and I'm glad to have you, Bryan, on the channel, because to me, who doesn't know anything about the South, I felt like after I read this that I knew a little bit more about the South. How did he do?
Well, that's really interesting that you point that out. I didn't know about those books. That's a cool perspective to have on it, because when I was reading it, I was associating it more with Southern fiction, the genre of Southern fiction. Like, I don't know if you guys have read any Pat Conroy, like The Great Santini, or anything like that. And I just, was kind of taken back by how well done it was. Like, it could easily fit in a Southern, just as a Southern fiction piece.
Sure.
And he clearly is from the South and clearly like understands the people. Like he was even, I mean, not, you can hear my voice. I'm from the cities in the South. I'm not like, but I have lived here most of my life, and I've been around the South, and I'm familiar with things. And he references things and traditions and ways of being that are absolutely accurate. Even little things, like at one point he references them drinking Russian tea.
Oh, wow.
That's a Southern thing, right? Do you guys know what that is? I didn't think so. I'm pretty sure it's a Southern thing. It's like Tang, that orange powder drink, Tang.
I remember Tang.
mixed with like instant tea and like cinnamon, and then you heat it up in the microwave. It's so good. But it's like a weird Southern thing. And for him to mention that, I was like, no way.
Yeah, I think that he really was and I wondered the whole time I was reading this, like, is this just his fictionalized retelling of his life growing up in the South. Who knows? Is it his family? I'm sure. I mean, writers write what they know. I'm sure there's connections to him, but I feel like it was really able to introduce a specific time period in the South and do it really, really well in the ways that a lot of the masters have done in the past in their own cultures, which I was not expecting when I picked this up. I mean, he just added horror. It's brilliant.
Yeah. And I wish I had the quote in front of me, but I saw an interview with him or read an interview with him, the writer, where he said that he had always been fascinated by the South, the American South, because, and this is going to be a misquote, but it's something along the lines of like, there's something very Gothic and dark in Southern traditions and ways. And he's like, it's so pristine and beautiful and all these nice traditions on the surface and politeness. But underneath, there's often this like bizarre, unique darkness that is what he likes to talk about and explore with his novels.
Yeah.
Well, pretty much most of his books are set in the South.
Yeah, and I think he was born in Alabama and grew up in Alabama, if I remember correctly from the wiki page. Yeah.
That's a really good point, and we'll probably come back to it a little bit later because it's maybe a little bit spoilery. But I thought he really did something interesting there with I would say, I think you said it in that the like sort of coverage that you did in your channel, Bryan, that Chris referenced, like that it's like 90% or 95% this drama and like 5% supernatural, which is important to know. But I really thought it was interesting the way that supernatural interacted with the family element and how it's well, I'll have to save it for spoiler, but I want to revisit that. We'll just put it like that because again, it would just go any farther is spoilery.
Yeah, it's interesting that it wasn't a werewolf or a vampire, right? It had to be a river monster, and I think that connects to the culture that he was writing about. I think that was what he felt was the best choice monster to represent the South, which I find really interesting. So if you have started this video to decide if you should read this or not, let's just really quick recommend this if we do, and then we can move into some kind of deeper stuff. What do you think, Virgil?
Yes, definitely recommended. You should know going in that like Bryan had pointed out, that it's 95% a family drama and that it's 5% ish supernatural, and that pervades the book. And if that is dissuading you, thinking, oh, I want something more, I mean, I'm just going to tell you, you're not going to be disappointed. I mean, the writing is really, really, really great. And it's like, and the other thing it's really hard to express properly is that it's infinitely readable. And that's such a really excellent quality in a writer, where you just read something and you're like, what time is it? Oh my God, I gotta stop. That's that kind of writing. You just get sucked into it, and it's so easy to read, and that makes it seem like the prose is simple, and it's not simple. He does so much work with character dialogue and just really brief, economical descriptions of his characters and the behaviors and their mannerisms. You never get confused as to who somebody is or what that person is like, even though the cast does grow and they have very complicated relationships to each other, super complicated relationships to, I'm thinking like, so-and-so is so-and-so's what? There was constantly stuff like that, but it was just so well done and so enjoyable to see that family grow. And you could see like the character flaws of certain characters pop up over and over again, and how they're trying to cope with it and how they evolve and change. Just to be able to manage all that, even in a larger book, which is still a lot of work and really not a lot of space. So I think, definitely very, very highly recommended. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I love this book, and to piggyback off of what Virgil said, I feel like a lot of people's hesitation with it is when they hear like, oh, it's mostly a family drama, because even that doesn't sound appealing to me. Like, I don't know that I would want to read a book if people were like, it's mostly family drama, but it's like it's I was never not entertained. I was so invested in this family drama. It could have been just that, and I would have been still happy with this book. And I think you talking about the writing is also one of the points I wanted to bring up, because as you said, it's not that it's simple writing, it's just well told. It's I don't even know if I want to describe it as the prose is good so much as the storytelling. He's just a good storyteller. It almost feels like an oral story that someone is telling you. And aside the fact from we listen to it as an audiobook, but it's just and again, you said, somehow we're following all of these characters despite the fact that there's so many. And usually in books, when there's a ton of characters, I find myself getting lost and forgetting who's who. And despite the immense quality of characters in this, I had a distinct personality for all of them and had no trouble following. And that's just such a statement to how well it's written.
Agreed. Yeah, I like a story that the writing is so well done that the words disappear and you're like staring into a portal that is directly the imagination in your mind. And this felt like that. So I first read this with this one, just the first one. I read it and then I listened to it on Audible, and I started over again because it had been so long since I'd done it. And I just want to really quickly say, this book is hard to come by. The Audible is absolutely fantastic. For one credit, you get all 6 of them. And who's the, is anybody able to pull out the name of the narrator?
I can probably do it if you give me a second.
Yeah. Take a second to do that. This narrator was able to do, I've never heard a better narrator on Audible. I mean, perfect. He was able to do every character so that I didn't even need the tags like James said, or, Mary Love said, or whatever. Didn't need them, because the minute that he started reading in the voice of the character, I knew it. And it wasn't silly. It was, it was very seriously done, and it was just absolutely incredible. I love a story that's easy to listen to, and this is that. I mean, I didn't find myself, like when I was listening to the Area X books, sometimes I had to stop and rewind because my brain would just start going off somewhere else. And this one, the whole time I was just like completely invested. So yeah, I highly recommend not only these books 100%, but I also recommend the Audible version of it, which is narrated by
Matt Godfrey.
Yes.
Perfect.
Good job, Matt Godfrey, whoever you
are. So good.
Yeah, you killed it. I wonder what else he's done. Can you look up stuff by narrators on
I think Audible? You can. Let me see.
Interesting.
I think you can do that, because some people are very like, I want to hear another book by this narrator. I know people feel
well,
that
Audible
way.
Through like Katie, the Elementals, the Amulet.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Lots of other books by McDowell. Have you read anything else?
He has a number of books.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. He has a number of books. I'll just point out a couple that I noticed. He does Lord of Light by Roger Zelazny.
Oh, wow.
He does that one. Let's see if I can find one that I just recognize. I see he's got some Joe R. Lansdale here, Driving to Geronimo's Grave and Other Stories. Joe R. Lansdale. I like Joe R. Lansdale. I didn't realize I didn't realize he was doing the audio for Polyphemus by Michael Shea. I never made that connection.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I was even listening to it. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, wow. You didn't catch that it was the same guy?
I didn't notice. I guess I don't know.
That's great.
What can I say?
I think that speaks to how good he is at his job. Seriously.
Yeah,
if you get an audiobook that's not good, you'll notice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I still can't decide if I liked the audiobook of the Swan book that we read. The Godfied. At first I was like, this guy sucks. And then I was like, you know what? No, he's all right. And then halfway
wait a minute.
No, this guy sucks.
I read that one, so I don't know. But
yeah, I read Lord of Light. I didn't know that he had done it. I'm sorry. You were saying that have you read any McDowell before?
Yeah, so I've read The Elementals, Katie, and Cold Moon Over Babylon.
Is Katie too gory?
Katie is my favorite one. My I think in my 80s best of 80s horror, I think I put it at number 1 or 2 as one of my favorites. But that one does not take place in the South. That one takes place in like 1800s New York City.
People rave about it.
Oh, it's so good. It is violent.
Yeah, well, I don't mind violence as long
it.
as there's as long as it's just not, torture porn or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it is. I mean, the intro scene has like some animal killing, like literally on the first sentences, so you know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
But it's so well written. Same thing as this book. It's just, I don't know. I was in 1800s New York City. It was so good.
So everything you've read by this guy, you love it?
Elementals was Katie's my favorite. Elementals was also great. But I liked Katie better. Cold Moon Over Babylon was good.
Okay.
But I've at least liked everything he's written. I think this book, Blackwater, is my all-time favorite. But
okay.
But everything I've read by him has been at least good.
That's a big recommendation.
Yeah.
Was it you that told me you heard somebody, or you thought that it was Downton Abbey meets Weird Tales horror?
I don't think I said that, but that's an excellent description of it.
No, I didn't. Somebody said that to me, and it is an excellent description of it.
I don't remember who said it either. Somebody did say it, and you're like, "Oh, this is like, oh, that is a good way to."
Yeah, if you said that, comment below. Take your credit.
Yeah, take credit for it.
All right. So if you're here wondering, should you read it? Yes, abso-freaking-lutely. Or you should listen to it on Audible. Take a audio road trip.
Right. With your buds.
Something I noticed, because we just talked about it. I think it's in like the 5th book. Maybe there actually is a sentence that says "Cold Moon Over Babylon" in the book.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember I highlighted it because I'm like, wait a minute, isn't that one of his other titles? And I highlighted the narrative. I don't know where. I'd have to look it up, but so it is in there. I don't really know which one came first, or if it I don't know if they're connected. Obviously, Bryan would be able to tell us if they're like, oh yeah, they're like, no.
They both take place in the same general region. I remember Cold Moon Over Babylon, I believe, was also in kind of southern Alabama, but I don't know
that it's like
if the river referenced, because there is a river in Cold Moon Over Babylon. I don't know if it's the Perdido. Now I kind of want to. Now I'm curious.
Yeah. I'll see if while we're
I
talking
read
about
there is a Perdido River and there is a Blackwater River, but they don't cross. That he created the crossing of those rivers to create this small town of Perdido for this story. But a lot of, apparently, the geography in this book is absolutely accurate.
Mm-hmm.
So from here on out, spoilers. Who was your favorite character, Bryan?
Favorite character? I don't know. I mean,
don't take mine.
I kind of like James.
Damn it! He tried. I knew that was going to happen. I knew he was going to say that.
Was that really yours?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
I freaking love James, dude.
Yeah, and I guess we can say Michael McDowell was a gay man
in the South, absolutely.
In the South, and they never explicitly state that James is gay, but he has that kind of feminine lilt to his voice.
And so much so that his dad is like, you have been touched by too much feminism. Femininity.
Femininity.
Dad said, or something like that. Yeah.
And especially back in the 70s and 80s, that became kind of almost a trope that we've seen in movies and stuff, is like the Southern man who talks like a little feminine, but he's like perfectly straight, apparently.
Right.
I feel like that became like a thing almost. So for him to include that character, I thought was really, really good. And I just like James as a person. He seemed like a really cool character. And and I feel like the whole, is he or is he not hiding his sexuality underneath also kind of parallels the I don't know, just like the book itself hiding this river monster within the town. And there's a lot of sort of beneath the surface things are hiding kind of themes going on.
There's a point in the 5th book where Eleanor is talking to her daughter Frances, and her daughter Frances is about to give birth to twins, and she's terrified that that her babies might be weird river monsters when they're born. And she makes a statement that they might be strange, I think is the word she uses. And Eleanor straight up breaks this down and says, is Zadie Smith strange because her skin's not the same color as everybody else's? And then she brings up another, what I feel is a gay coded couple, which is Grace and
I can't remember her name now.
I can't either. And I love them as well.
Yeah.
I think that analogy or that juxtaposition that you're bringing up is absolutely throughout this book, all the way, because these are all characters that don't quite fit the norm. And I think that is really the heart of this book is watching these characters that don't quite fit the norm. And at first you just think it's this dual life of Eleanor as a river monster or a loving wife and matriarch of the Caskey family. But in reality, it's about being, African American in the South. It's about being gay in the South. It's all these layers that I thought he had a lot to say, and it seems like it's just this generational tale, which it is, but there's so much more to that. I always love genre fiction that feels like it elevates to me, and this does that entirely. I would put this in a literature section without any qualms, and I wish that more people were talking about it in schools and colleges, because man, what a ride, really.
It's awesome. You heard the English teacher tell it here first. Mike McDowell's literature. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's one aspect of these novels. I was super afraid when I started reading this, I'm going to be completely honest, that there was going to be some seriously terrifying racist stuff in this book, especially when they started bringing up servants. And it's strange because I have a knee-jerk reaction to historical stories about the South, right? And I found that Michael McDowell also really kind of expertly covered that as well.
Everything is acknowledged in terms of like the times that they're living in and how they can, be difficult for certain people. But I feel like most of the characters in the book are tolerant of almost all of these different types, because it's like, it's their town and it's their people and it's their friends and their family. So like they're tolerant of it. They might, like I think they even acknowledge with the female couple who's living out together. They say like people in the town, might have thought it was strange at first, but then they came to know like that's just them. Like, like they might be anti-gay or racist or whatever to other people, who knows? But like that's just them. Like
that to me, having grown up in a small town, seems accurate. I mean, it's weird. Small towns take care of their own, and even their slightly weird own. You know what I mean? I
feel like it's important to acknowledge these things because, like you said, I think that's on purpose. I think it parallels the whole. I don't know exactly what he's trying to say, but the whole river monster thing is like, it's weird, but they kind of are, the people who know a little bit or suspect a little bit are just like, that's okay. That's just them. We're not going to ask questions. We're going to be okay with it. I don't know. He's definitely saying some important things there that you could probably really delve into this book in a way that my brain couldn't even comprehend.
I think you could. I think this book is very fertile for unpacking. It really is. I think there's a lot that could be said about this, and I'm sad that I had to wait for Paperbacks from Hell to hear about it. Like, I loved horror, and I was constantly looking for horror, and this never crossed my plate ever. It's really wild to me. So what'd you guys think of the horror? If we specifically look at the horror, how was the horror in this?
You point at me?
Yeah, go ahead.
I thought it was very well done. I mean, it's no surprise to people who have read Michael McDowell. He's very good at writing these tense scenes. They're like, they feel almost surreal because you're only getting a little bit of the understanding as to what's fully going on until you get towards the end. So they're creepy and they're well described, and these river monster thing feels original and slimy and squelchy, and I think too, you get so long with no supernatural elements and you're just invested in this drama between these normal characters, you almost forget you're in a weird supernatural story, and then boom, he hits you with this like really like messed up horror river monster scene, and then you're back into normal. And I feel like that's part of why those scenes are so powerful, is it's like he lulls you into a sense of comfort and safety and normalcy, and then springs in with the weird.
Yeah,
for sure.
What'd you think, Virgil?
I did really like it. I thought, like I said, it was very bizarre. It comes, it defies an expectation in a sense. It isn't like pulling on like some sort of a trope. Like you said, it's not a werewolf or a vampire or anything like that, right? So you really don't know what to expect or what you're really dealing with until much later in the book, where you kind of get a feeling. So you don't even know, because there's definitely a sense that Eleanor has the ability to do things. There's a person who is literally killed by, I guess we're in spoilers, aren't we? Is literally killed by being struck by lightning and a tree falling them and everything. And it's like, what can Eleanor do and not do? It seems like she has these like unimaginable powers that she can call to her aid if she wants, but she doesn't really do it. It's interesting that she has so much power. I guess this is still the horror, but I don't know.
Oh, it is the horror.
Yeah.
I had the same question. Like there was times when I was like, wait a minute, what is her power?
Yeah.
Because she's like literally making it rain into a grave, taking jewelry out of the coffin, and then making it fall through a ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Like what are the powers of this scary creature?
And thankfully we're never given that explicit definition, which is a good thing. We don't want that. It's not a good thing to get. But and the other thing is that she has all this, but she never employs that to get what she wants. She plays this social long game instead. She masquerades, I guess you could say, as a human, and plays. She defeats Mary Love on Mary Love's terms, as it were, in a sense. Like she outwits her.
Mary Love is the mother-in-law of
the central, I guess you could say, the main antagonist for the first half of the novel. And I also thought it was so interesting too, which that like the monster, the supernatural thing, is the person that brings compassion to a family who is very sort of like closed up and sort of bitter in a way, with Mary Love in control. And like Eleanor sort of like was like, no, we're not gonna, like, Zaddy's the same as us. We're not gonna act that way. We're not gonna be like that. I mean, Eleanor has her own sort of choices, I guess you could say, which I don't even know that they're bad, but she doesn't force her hand. She could go and like rip people's arms off, I guess, theoretically, or something, right? Or she could totally have taken Mary Love out like really early. Like it would have been nothing. Like, and she could have made it happen, but she chooses not to. And I think it's so interesting that she's like, I'm just gonna wait. And then of course there's that whole thing with the closet. Which is super creepy. That scene with the where is it Queenie's husband comes and is shooting at the house, and there's a whole thing, and the closet thing was like, that was like the most intense scene that I can remember from the book, as far as like action, just like what's going to happen. Like you're just like, I have no idea what's going to happen next. This is crazy. Yeah, I really liked it.
It's funny because that's the question I had with the horror, in the sense that the river monster horror made sense to me until the birth of Francis's twins, because I thought that Michael McDowell had established that the river monsters can change form into human form, and suddenly there was a baby that could not. That confused me a little bit. And then the haunting aspect was really interesting, because for me the most horrible happening in this book is the killing of this child with mental deficiencies. Is that the right word?
Mm-hmm. I would think so. Yeah.
But so gory. Like that was there's a lot of horror in this book. And that that was in book 2. That was the peak for me. I was just like, oh my God,
Yeah,
the
that was
description.
intense.
Oh, I assume that's what he gets into with Katie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a bit of that. Yeah, that's what was I going? Oh, this is kind of off topic, but we would be remiss if we didn't mention at least that this book is very much just about like powerful women.
Yeah.
Like every woman character in here is 10 times more intelligent and powerful than the men.
Yeah, this family's a matriarchy, and they pass from woman to woman. There's never a question that this family isn't a matriarchy, which I really enjoyed. I loved all the women in this, even the ones that at first I was like, boy, they're going to be evil characters. Turned out to be very complex and characters that I was rooting for, and that's kind of true with many of the characters. You're right. All the really non-family antagonistic characters are husbands and friends and men.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really true. Yeah, that's a good point.
But back to the horror, I think what Virgil was saying in that, it's good that we don't get the full detailed explanation of Eleanor and what's going on there and who she is. And usually I don't like in books where I'm like, how is this working? And why are things falling through the ceiling in that one scene? And it usually irritates me if I don't like get it. But for some reason it just worked in this one. And you're right. You're absolutely right. You don't want a detailed explanation.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny because Eleanor won't even talk to Francis. Mm-hmm. Like the fact that McDowell won't give us a very specific, non-vague description of what this is just an echo of Eleanor. And I don't know if this is a Southern thing,
probably,
or a small town thing, because the concept of not giving out all the information happened a lot when I grew up as well. But like Francis has to come to Eleanor for everything. Like she's swimming in the ocean, apparently in river monster form, and doesn't even realize that. Eleanor like she keeps getting sick, and Eleanor's bathing her in Perdido water. And Francis, like Eleanor could have just been like, oh, by the way, you're half river monster. Yeah. Right. But never once. Francis has to like pry it out of Eleanor.
Mm-hmm. Well, and now I'm trying to remember too, when you're saying that she has the twins and one of them is like fully human basically, did she not mention something like, oh, why can you come in and out, Mom? And she was like, some of us are like this and some of us aren't, or whatever.
She might have done, because Francis of course can too. So
right.
All the river monsters we're introduced to can change,
right?
Except until this baby. But you're right. She might have just like swept it aside and said, yeah, that's just, and I assume there's as many variations of river monsters as there are people, right? You know what I mean? There's going to be lots of differences.
Yeah. We never get a really great look at any of them. And of course, Eleanor mentions her family, who she doesn't want to talk about or deal with anymore, and we kind of know that there's more of her family around, but we never really get to see them. And I think too that those other supernatural elements like the closet works too, because it seems like it's like we've read a ghost story kind of like that before. It's like he does a good job of like he knows like that he's like playing off of that like supernatural energy, and that if he sticks to that for the most part, that yes, it's confusing, but that's how that sort of thing works, and so we kind of buy into it. Like I kind of sort of do understand how it works and don't. Like I couldn't really explain it, but it's like I kind of get it. Like it kind of has like a weird, like these ghosts are vengeful, but like why are they in the closet? Why can't we get rid of them? Is it because of Eleanor, because of what she's done? Because of course, even though she's sort of a protagonist, she's not a hero. She definitely does things that, she seems like she has so many good things, right? Like Eleanor is really like she's doing these great stuff. Like, yeah, but remember that the stuff that she did. Remember she killed this little kid randomly and drowned him. Like that wasn't real cool, was it?
Yeah. I mean, the humans don't understand what's going on either, so we're just kind of put into the place of the rest of the Kasky family, and that something weird is going on, but we don't know exactly what.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always think about like the scariest. Did you guys ever see the Twilight Zone movie?
Mhm.
And there's the scare where the guy's like, you want to see something really scary? And they're driving and he like leans back into the back seat and comes out and it's like a werewolf. I don't know if you remember. It's a small part of that movie.
I think I remember it. It's been a long time, but yeah.
But that to me is ultimately the scariest thing I can imagine, is somebody that you love and are with daily, suddenly their face changing or them not being who you thought they were. Right. I really felt for Oscar throughout this entire story, because he's just and on the first part of it, you got this kind of Southern matriarch where the man's just like, hey man, whatever she wants is fine with me. I'm just not going to fight. Right. But it's so much more than that. Like, he knows she's not normal. I think Oscar knew from the beginning. I think, like you said, Virgil, I think he knew from the beginning, but he's like, damn it, I love the shit out of her. So there it is.
I don't care.
Yeah.
And I just, again, I love that we're like thinking this much about the minor knowledges and thoughts of these characters, and it just shows how real these characters became throughout this story. It's not often after a book that I'm like breaking down individual decisions and like thinking about their motivations, and it all just makes sense. And
I think these characters are Stephen King good. I
Well,
really
Stephen
do.
King is quoted on like all of Malcolm McDowell's books. As like, what does it say? Like the best writer of paperback originals today, or something like that.
Yeah, mine don't have it.
Maybe not all of them, but a lot of them.
I've seen that exact quote. Yeah,
me too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I was very taken. Virgil, you never told us who your favorite character was.
I like James too. I really did.
Right.
But James is so easy to like. I think what's great about James, and what's interesting too, is I guess to drop to the end of it, is that when James does pass, because it's like it is a thing that happens in the book where you feel kind of bummed, and there is a tonal change in the book. You could feel like the book is like, now it's going like this a little bit, but then the book says like it wasn't really that big a deal. It didn't, not much changed, but which is both true and completely wrong. It's like everything changed when they lost. James was kind of like the heart, you could say. It's like he just had this. He just was like loving, and like would suffer anything, and just to be loving. Like, he didn't want to hurt anybody or be mean spirited anybody. He just wanted to be sweet and loving to everyone.
Yeah.
Right. So he was like, he literally wore his heart on his sleeve. Almost, well, I guess not literally, figuratively wore his heart on his sleeve. But yeah, and it was so easy to like him, and it was also so easy to see how he would just do anything for anyone. Just like, Oscar needs money, and he's like, okay, here you go.
Yeah.
He's like, here's, what the equivalent now would be like $500,000. He's like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, it's no problem. He said, Mom and I'll fix it, And I should have said this earlier, but which is a totally wrong place to say it, but his use of dialogue is so expert. It's so good. Not only can like the audio reading is so good, but like just the way that dialogue is employed, and you get with the feel, you can get so much out of the way a character is speaking as to how they feel. And so it's just, James just had that very compassionate, loving sort of feeling, but also sort of like, we don't talk about this and this stuff, and we don't, I don't know, just sort of like the skeletons stay in the closet type stuff that I think that a lot of the characters had. It's sort of like they talk around it. Oh, we'll keep those skeletons in the closet.
That's a very Southern thing.
Yeah. Actually, I did want to read. I remembered a quote that I had written down, and I want to read it, which is somewhat pertinent, but not entirely. It is pertinent, but I don't know if it's pertinent at this exact moment. And it says, Southerners are an easygoing race when it comes to aberrations of conduct. They will react with anger if something out of the ordinary is presented as a possible future occurrence. But if an unusual circumstance is discovered to be an established fact, they will usually accept it without rancor or judgment as part of the normal order of things.
I think that sums up the whole book. Great quote.
Seriously, what book is that from?
Let me look. I don't remember which volume it's from. It's a later one.
Okay.
Let's see. This is the very end, the very, very end of book 4. chapter 57 in book 4.
The war. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's great, Virgil.
Mhm.
That's a fantastic quote, man.
Yeah, good
And
pull.
that's just like, yeah, that is kind of what's going on. It's like if somebody's like, we're doing this, we're not going to do that. But then it's like somebody just decides to do it and it just sort of starts happening. And they're like, okay. Yeah. They're like, well, that's just how it is.
Yeah, like Grace and Lucille.
Grace and
Mhm.
Seal.
Yeah, living out on becoming farmers.
Yeah, totally in a romantic relationship with each other, right? No one ever says that, but that they're sleeping in the same bed. They even know that,
Right.
but everyone's just like, oh, they're just, they just really care about each other, and so the whole family knows it. If they were to come out and say that we're in a relationship together, it would be like, no, you can't have that. But
Right.
it's just out in the open, and
Yep.
it's just out in the open, and they just do it, and everybody's just kind of like, yeah, okay. It's like
Yeah.
everybody knows it, but nobody will say it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and it's funny because McDowell was smart enough as he went through that he introduced Grace's girl parties that she'd have at James's house every summer, and just this slow build up. These characters were developed so lovingly, and I don't know if they're based on people, and I'm sure little pieces of them are based on, but who knows, right?
Yeah.
But just so they jump off the page, they really do.
Yeah. Just to circle back real quick to what Virgil was saying. Oh, sorry, I thought you were yawning. I didn't know if you're starting to say something. Just circle back to what Virgil was saying is that, when James died, the tone kind of shifts. You feel his absence. And I think that's something that really happens throughout the book because you're following this family for decades. So characters do die off, and integral parts of this political, family dynamic, and constantly when characters are gone, you feel their absence and the way the family shifts into that void and how it changes, and sometimes the book tonally changes with it, and really well done.
Yeah, I think another theme that we have to bring up is the weird child swapping.
Child stealing. I think they literally say child stealing.
Child stealing. Yeah. They will rearrange babies in the family. They will be like, this poor person's old and has nobody. Give them a baby. And they'll take a baby from this person and give it to this person. And I think once James traded a baby for a car.
Yep.
It sounds so odd to people listening to this. I feel like this is another example of the first time it happens, it's a big deal, right? When Eleanor but then another example of well, this is just a weird thing that happens with this family. It's fine. It's normal now.
They use it for political leverage in the family.
Yeah.
Like deals are made and kids are what is dealt with. It's crazy.
Yeah, they're the commodity, right? Yeah, right. It's like, when Eleanor and Oscar want their house, they want to be. Eleanor wants to take Oscar, and she's like, I want him finally. I don't want to quit sharing him with Mary Love. He is mine, and so she gives Eleanor and sister their first child. It's literally a first child purchase, like a Rumpelstiltskin type scenario or something, right? Or something.
And it's interesting because I don't know if Eleanor would have made that decision if Miriam wasn't born completely human.
Yeah.
I think there's some talk about that too later on. Isn't there with what's her other daughter's name? Frances, yeah. I think there's some talk when Frances is having her babies about that. I remember some chatting about it. I don't remember what was said.
Well, I mean, Frances is very much attached to the slimy child, and is not,
But that's such a fun process to watch.
Yeah,
I loved book 5 for that process. That's what I really kind of dove into in that one, was the fact that she was so terrified she was going to have a slimy baby, and eventually she loves that baby way more than her human baby, to the extent of abandoning all life on land in order to love and take care of Narita.
Narita,
yeah. Sorry, Narita is a Japanese airport. So Narita, there we go. Oh yeah, and an anime if you change it.
That would have been a really unfortunate naming in a character in a book.
Oh my goodness. All right, what did I miss? Did we miss anything that you feel is important to talk about?
I think we covered a lot of it, but like you said, this, you could just delve into so much of this.
Yeah.
I think we hit a lot of the points here.
I had one last question that I kept going back and forth on if I was going to ask or not. Do you think he might have viewed this through some rose-colored glasses? There were so many moments when I thought these guys were going to backstab and hate each other. And I think it's because I'm kind of used to Japanese literature where in these generational dramas, like people like fuck with each other like terribly. And I felt like every time I expected, like I thought Miriam and Francis were going to grow up destroying each other. The way Miriam treated Francis, I felt was setting up. And then all of a sudden, Miriam was just accepted as who Miriam is and showed her love in a way that didn't hurt her honor in any way. Didn't like she couldn't just straight up say I love Francis. She just showed Francis she cared about her through saying, "Oh, I need somebody to come with me to the beach" or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I often felt with these books that shit was about to hit the fan, and then suddenly it was like, no, this character is who they are, and we accept them who they are because they're part of the family. Do you think that is truly accurate, or do you think that there was some nostalgia, rose-colored glasses viewing in this?
You might have a point, and then also he could have been doing that on purpose to fit the whole theme of we accept and love those around us, even if they're weird.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, there is a lot that works out in the end that maybe wouldn't have in real life. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I know during The Fortune, which I think is the 5th book, at first I was like, holy crap, I'm just reading about a rich family getting rich. Like, what the shit's going on here? And then I was able to focus on Francis and really, but for a while there with Billy, I was just like, and them striking oil and all this kind of stuff. I was just like, okay, now we're just like fucking let's make that money. And
there was a bit of that.
It wasn't long, but just for a second there, just to not say this is the perfect book because it's not the perfect book, but it's very, very close. But yeah, I felt that maybe there might have been, but you're right. That might be his point. That might be exactly what he's saying is, and it's fiction. And maybe he wants to leave you with the concept of, when it's family, it's completely different. You know what I mean? You take care of your family, no matter, that's the point of conditional love, right? No matter what the differences between you and other people in your family are, you take care of them. Yeah. I don't know.
I thought it was, it definitely seemed like there was a whole lot of like avoiding confrontation. Like whenever it felt like there was something was going to come to a head, it was like, it would just skirt over. Like,
that's
yeah, it's just, they would just
bury it down.
I grew up in small town Mormonism, and we were the same way, man. You spoke civilly, and if there was going to be some real trouble, you had a tendency to sweep it under and figure it out elsewhere. Yeah.
Like, we just don't talk to them anymore or something, or they just wave, and there was a whole thing where Oscar didn't talk to Mary Love for a while. There's a hey mama, and that's it. And he would just go inside, and it just for a long time, not like a couple months. We're talking years of this, and years too of him like not hardly interacting with his daughter Frances, who literally lives like 60 feet from him. Like,
are you talking about Miriam?
Well, just like Oscar and seeing Francis, like his daughter, like they live right next door, don't they?
No, it's Miriam you're thinking of. Francis lives with Oscar.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Miriam is Mary Love's and sisters.
But so it's just sort of like that whole. It's like they just don't go over there. They don't see her. They don't talk to her.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just so interesting. Whenever somebody was going to butt heads, it was like. Instead, it was like, nope, it would go back to sort of like these political maneuvering, and stuff like that. It would go back to that.
Well, and Miriam wouldn't even call her parents mom and dad or anything
Yeah.
until there was kids exchanged, and then she
And-
started calling her mama.
Yeah, and she's 40. She's 40 something
Yeah.
before the first time she calls Oscar father or dad is when she's 40.
Yeah,
It's like a very passive aggressive war, like
Yeah.
little subtle things, little subtle cuts and
yeah,
jabs.
Yes, absolutely. And that's where I think Eleanor even says that she beat Mary Love that one time, and that was like it felt like that she felt that she had to beat Mary Love at her own game. It had to be this maneuvering. And then when Miriam outmaneuvers Eleanor later and
Yep.
takes who is the newest child?
So that's the one name I can't remember. Do you remember it at all, Brian? What is
The newest child that's the human.
Yeah.
The
Narita's
very last
sister.
one, the very last baby that they have, yeah, and she's in her and the
Francis's human daughter.
yeah, her and then the little boy from
Yeah, that wanted to marry her.
yeah, and he
Mhm.
and that whole thing, that whole relationship, and of course that sort of almost leads into kind of like you could tell that the story keeps going. If he had he could write another book if he had wanted to.
Yeah.
This would be a very fan fiction-y book if it was super popular. I'm sure there'd be a ton of fan fiction about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, it was just I don't know. I don't remember my train of thought, but it doesn't matter. It was good. But the other thing too is that I think we were talking Chris at one point, and he said the other thing too is that you could tell this family just loves each other, even though there's all this passive aggressive action. There's all this love too. And they treat each other like it's sort of a selfish love, because they're always like, that's my baby, or that's my
Right.
those are they is like, why are you gonna, what is one of the kids, I think sister says something one time, she's like, don't you know how much, would you stop thinking about yourself and think about how much I'm gonna miss you, or something like that. And it's like, quit being selfish, and I want to be selfish.
Yeah.
And when is it Francis it goes away to Catholic school, to the Catholic college, and how they find her and she's crying, and Miriam, I'm sorry. See, I get these names all messed up. I'm sorry. When Miriam goes away to school and she's like crying and everything, and they find her and they're like, oh, we weren't serious. Nobody's dead. She's like, oh, what? And they're like, oh no, she's crying because she misses us.
Yeah, but she could never, that weird pride.
Yeah, couldn't articulate it. It was like it would break her to say, I love you.
Right. And I think there's a lot of pride in all these characters.
Yeah.
Or honor, and I couldn't ever get a sense of what the honor was or when it was being broken. It was really interesting. It was like this code, and I assumed that it was just Southern.
I think it is.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. Also, I want to say, kind of the last thought I wanted to make sure to get in. The book begins and ends in a similar fashion with a flood, which is kind of bookends, which for some odd reason is my favorite thing in storytelling, even in music. I love when albums are bookended by half a song or something of the same song. I love how the end of this book ended the beginning and created this almost cyclical statement. I thought it was really, I thought it ended well.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think the flood itself is kind of a poetic thing, and that kind of what Virgil was saying earlier of like, the fish don't even go in that water. It's like from another world. It's another thing.
Yeah.
And like, it's almost as if the world you're living in is overtaken by this other world. And then the water goes back down, and Eleanor is this weird thing that was left behind from this other world.
Yeah.
And even though she's from another world, they accept her. And I think there's a lot going on with that.
Yeah. I wondered, because the flood took over, if she was just transitioning back to the river, but I think I was just hoping. I don't think the book points to that at all. I think she did, but I like what you just said, from another world, because in that way the bookends are about the other world coming to take her back, to reclaim her, to take her out of our world, and in that way it's just the story of the visitation of this kind of otherworldly creature and her time with the Caskies. It's really incredible. I know Mike read this. Mike at Mike's Book Reviews, and just couldn't say enough good about it. And I think that really, truly, if you're on the fence about it, jump on it. It's great. If you watch this far, we've screwed it totally up for you. But even then, I still think that you'd love the crap out of it.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to, because very few of these things are really surprising. It's a book that is an experience more than a discovery.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just you just kind of like, it's like when you watch a favorite movie again, even if you know what's going to happen, you still are so pleased to see it. So yeah, and I agree that ending was so good. It was such a, because there is a downturn at the end of the book, and you're kind of, feeling it winding down, and you're kind of like, it's going to have to end somehow. And I love how it chose to end, and it's sort of like building up to this flood that the town's going to get swept away again. And I think this is on this cover, on this book club edition. I think this is the cover for the last book, which is which I think is the two surviving characters, rowing away. And I thought that was really fitting. And that's a really iconic scene in my mind. Them in that boat rowing away from the house again. It just was like such a really great wrap up to the story. I really enjoyed it. It was such a appropriate and pleasing finish.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because this was quite an investment. Honestly, how many pages do you think this book was?
600
or 700 maybe.
Yeah, 30 hours on Audible.
Yeah.
This was quite a read. So Michael McDowell, of course, I think this is, he's probably best known for writing the screenplay to Beetlejuice.
I would think so.
Yeah. And then probably this, right?
Yeah. In the horror, the Elementals is pretty well known, I think. But yeah, probably Blackwater.
Yeah. Anyway, here's my copies of it. I only have the first two. This was released.
The omnibus 1 and 2 is right. Okay, and 2.
Yeah, you actually have the
first one, but I sold it.
Yeah.
Oh, you had the omnibus one.
No. I had the one that I must be pointing in the wrong direction. I had the one you had, Chris.
This one. Yeah. Well, you could be pointing the right direction. I don't know. Who knows what it'll come out like when it's recorded.
Right.
Yeah. So this one, I have to admit, I discovered from Paperbacks from Hell. I had never heard of McDowell before this at all. And for me, reading through Paperbacks from Hell, this is the one that caught my attention the most. And I've already done a video on the channel about a year ago that was just about this first one, because this is the only one I had at the time, was this first one. But when I saw it was on Audible, I grabbed it because these are, of course, very precious now and hard to afford. And any copy, even the one you have, Virgil, doesn't go for cheap.
Yeah, I had to hunt a little bit to find a reasonable price book club edition that still kept. You can get a hardback, like one volume, like modern printing, and the cover's not bad. It's not like atrocious or anything, but these original covers, like the one that you have, are just gorgeous. They're so cool, like the weird eyeball and everything on there.
On yours, Virgil, do they have the really cool step back art inside your versions?
Oh, I don't think so.
Because Chris's version, those originals, if you lift the cover, they have these really cool step back arts.
I always called them splash pages. I don't know what they're.
Yeah.
I probably don't,
but they are incredible.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, see, that's right there is worth getting it for the.
When I was listening to this on Audible, I even was like Googling, show me the step back art for every single book, and I could only find a couple of them. I was a little bummed.
Well, yeah, and unfortunately, this says it's the first printing, but it doesn't have the step back art.
Do they see? Now I'm not sure. Do they all have it? Because I only own the first one.
I don't know.
Maybe it's just the first one. Yeah.
Let me make sure this says it's a first edition.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything in here. I mean, obviously, a book club edition, there's almost never anything in the inside.
Hmm.
Certainly nothing in color.
Yeah, this just opens right up to.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe it was only on the first one, and I didn't miss out.
Yeah, this says it's the first print, but
Okay.
you can usually tell like this line here.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the new UK covers?
No.
Type in Michael McDowell, Blackwater the Flood.
Wait, those are the really
the
fancy
gaudy,
ones.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
real gaudy
yeah.
ones. I love them. I think they're absolutely incredible. I'll put one up on the screen here.
They are cool.
But just it's strange because every time I look them up here in the States, I can find them listed on Target's website, but they're in Spanish. So I don't know if they've been released in Spanish in the United States or if they're coming up from Mexico into New Mexico. I have no idea, but I would love to get those covers. Those are really, truly my favorite, even though these old ones are absolutely incredible. But those ones really have been blowing my mind.
Yeah. And just as one more aside, you got to wonder too how he managed to get this published. I mean, he had a couple books to his name. I assume he sold decently well, but for him to get a company to agree to publish a ambitious, serialized family drama.
And I think you and I were talking about this before we started recording, or maybe right when we started recording. I think this is the first serialized horror novel, which I always thought was The Green Mile. I thought Stephen King was the first person to have this idea, but Michael McDowell, what is this, 82?
Yeah.
And it was 1 month after another. He had it all written.
Yeah. I would love to hear the history on it. It's interesting that this happened.
Yeah, in 83 for 6 months straight, from January to May. I don't know, counting June. I'm an English major. I don't count.
Doesn't matter. That's right.
But yeah, he did 6 months of these books, and yeah, I want to know who has the rights now.
Yeah, well, especially considering, I'm trying to think now when Stephen King started releasing these doorstopper novels. That's all that they wanted from the publishing world. They would encourage writers to pad the novels to be really long and really thick. So for them to not want to release this as a 700-page book is interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if it was his idea or the publishers.
Right.
That's an interesting idea. Yeah, I'd love to know more about this. I'd love to. I mean, I have never walked into a store and seen Michael McDowell on the shelf. Never once.
I don't think I have either.
Never in
like a used bookstore, you mean?
Not a used bookstore, not Barnes and Nobles, nowhere.
All the ones I mentioned I've read. I did find at used bookstores, but it was hard.
That's awesome.
Over years of looking.
Yeah, seriously. Like this one I got because my friend found it at an estate sale and knew I wanted it. And then this one I bought off of eBay for $20, which was crazy. He's being reprinted in UK. I don't know if those new ones are penguins or what they are, but they're beautiful. But I don't know why he's not. I mean, even the other books from Paperbacks from Hell, When Darkness Loves Us, Virgil, you got that crazy new publication of it, right?
I don't know. I just did the audiobook for that.
Oh, okay.
But that image that fantastic image of that doll with the face cracked and everything.
You're talking about that like Elizabeth Engstrom book.
Yes.
Yeah.
You ever
read
like
the Valancourt books that is
Valancourt, that's
yep.
it. Yeah. Yeah, like why aren't they doing these ones?
Yeah.
I mean,
I guess it already got that big thick reprint.
They do, and I wish they'd carry those at stores.
Yeah, for sure.
It seems like it should do. Yeah, it shouldn't take much. I don't understand why this isn't a TV miniseries.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah,
like I mean, it's something.
Like, the guy that did Haunting a Hill House would kill it at this.
This is like almost no special effects are needed. You know, it would be a very small set. You don't need a lot of set. You know, it's just really good character drama. I just don't understand.
What'd you say, Brian? I'm sorry.
I just said that would be a fantastic show.
It'd be great. Mike Flanagan, that's the guy I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be incredible. It really would. They're doing Castle Rock is coming up soon. No, Welcome to Derry is coming up soon. They're turning Stephen King books into, did you guys watch Castle Rock?
Mhm.
So there's an episode, I don't know if you remember it, Virgil, where it's about a woman who has Alzheimer's and is using chess pieces in order to link her memories together. It won awards. It was one of the most incredible dramas, and it's in the middle of this Stephen King miniseries. They're trying to turn Stephen King stories into what this already is. They should do this. I mean, it would be killer. It would be so good.
Yeah.
I hope a lot of the high-powered execs are sitting watching our YouTube channel. Make this one.
Yeah.
Right. It's almost a screenplay already. It's so, like I said, it's so much dialogue. It would be so easy.
Yeah. And each book could be a season.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, it's there. It's perfect. It's made.
Just waiting for someone to grab it.
Yep. Yeah, really. That's right. That's right. All right. What did I miss? Anything?
I'm okay.
I think we hit the points.
All right. It's funny because when I was making my Patreon only videos for this, I'm not doing this to advertise, I promise. But if you want to go watch the Patreon only video, now I'm advertising. When I was doing the Patreon only videos for these, I would run out of stuff to say book by book. Like when I was just like, I'm going to talk about the 5th book. It was hard for me to get 10 to 15 minutes worth of stuff out because so much of it was about just little family things happening, right? But talking about it with you guys and looking at this as a whole, just as we've been sitting here talking, so much more is popping up in my brain.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. This has been this is like you said, it's so fun to, this is such a good book to just like bounce ideas off of each other and keep the conversation moving in ways that I wouldn't have thought of on my own. Yeah. Thank you for joining. I mean, like I said, this was a high price entry fee because that is a huge amount to read or listen to make a video like this. Yeah. Which I find is true of a lot of horror. Yeah, it's true. For sure. Yeah. So, all right, you guys go check out Bryan at Bad Taste Books. I'll put a link down to his channel in the description. Go check out Virgil at Literally Books. I'll put a link down there as well. And thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you. Thank you.